Hello. County Executive Sara Innamorato has been Allegheny County's top official for 1 year now. How has it gone? What will she focus on in 2025? We'll ask her. And soon, NAMI Keystone, Pennsylvania will host its 2025 Youth Mental Health Conference in Pittsburgh. We'll get a check-in on how our young people are doing. Plus, Trouble in Mind is coming to the Pittsburgh Public Theater. We'll hear from the director and cast members of this play within a play. So pull up a chair and meet us at the corner. Intersection starts right now. Hello, I'm Lisa Smith, the Director of Community Impact at KDKA+, and the host of Intersections. Sara Innamorato marked a shift when she became the Allegheny County Executive in 2024. It was the first personnel change in the office in 12 years, as she became the county's fourth county executive. And some might say it has been a very busy first year, from the jail issues to Schumann to taxes to housing the homeless, and now what's planned for 2025. She is here to talk about all of that with us and more. Thank you so much for being with us.
Of course, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, we said it's been a busy year. How would you assess the year?
It was great, right? It was the first year, it was the changing of the guard for the first time, like you said, in 12 years. And so really, it was about building a team. It was about getting to know the folks who have committed their lives to civil service in the county. It's about, putting in action our policies and ideologies that we ran on with the campaign. And so it's been a tremendous first year, and a lot of it started with recognizing the valuable work that our 6,000 plus county employees do each and every day, and really getting to know them in the in and outs of their day-to-day lives, because but for them, I wouldn't be able to do my job as county executive.
Yeah. So if you had to give yourself a grade for that first year, like what grade would you give yourself?
I mean, I'm biased, but I think we're doing a great job. And it really, I have to thank the community because of that. I came in talking about co-governance, and some people were like, yep, I get it. And many people were like, what does that even mean? And so we showed people what that meant in our transition. When we launched the All in Allegheny initiative, we engaged more than 17,000 people in what they'd like the future of Allegheny County to be. And we took all of that feedback, all of those voices from our events, and we turned it into a 91-point action plan that we launched in April. And as of October, we're either completed or in progress on 91% of those 91 items. So, we're showing people that we can listen, that we can take all of that and translate it into real policy change, real programmatic implementation on the ground and in our neighborhoods.
Yeah. So our good friend John Delano spoke with you about a year ago, and he asked you a question about raising taxes.
Yeah.
And your answer was, you have, quote, no plans to raise taxes, not at this moment.
Yeah.
When would you say the moment changed?
Oh my gosh. Well, so you get in, right? Like it's like looking under the hood of a car, and you start to tinker in there, and you're like, oh wow, this isn't going as well as we think it is. So, the previous comprehensive fiscal plans painted a rosier picture about the county's fiscal health than what was reality. And so we did the responsible thing and really dove deep into, what was going on and what kind of resources financially we would need to put the county on stable ground. So not only be able to pay the bills, but at the last 4 out of the 5 budgets before me, they passed with a deficit, meaning they spent more money than they took in. So that built over many years and became, my problem. So that was an $81 million structural deficit. So, we looked at the numbers and we said, okay, we can either slash services and programs, we can freeze hiring, we can cut wages, which are very low compared to the market for our county employees. Or we can do what's not the politically advantageous thing, but the right thing to do to put us on the right financial track. And that was to raise revenue, to raise taxes. And so, we did it, and we talked about, me and my team, our directors, community members, people who receive money from the county, talked a lot about what was at stake. And, for better or worse, people really understand, I think, more than ever what the county does for them in terms of public safety, in human services, in administering elections, and making sure our streets are plowed and our bridges and roads are repaired. So, we did a really good job trying to humanize the dollar amount and make people really understand where their taxpayer dollars are going.
Do you think that there is space for changing the way property taxes are collected here in the county? I know it's pretty much mandated by the state, so basically by the state. I mean, and you were in the state legislature, so you've seen that kind of up front. So is there a problem the way Pennsylvania collects property taxes that needs to be tweaked or corrected or changed, restructured, so that counties and municipalities really do have what they need to do what needs to be done? Yeah,
so I think that's a good point. And, as a county elected official, I'm always looking for more tools in my toolbox to fund an operating budget. So right now, my only tool is property taxes. Now, we do collect other taxes at a county level, so a drink tax, car rental tax, a hotel tax, but those are earmarked towards specific uses like public transit or repairing roads and bridges. So, people asked great questions. When I went to Chamber of Commerce's and talked about the budget and the tax increase, they'd say, well, what about these other taxes? And I was like, that's a great idea. I can't do that. To raise those taxes, they would have to be done at the state level, and the laws would have to change in order for us to put it towards things that people are asking us to put it towards, like, children and youth services, like mental and behavioral health, like addressing homelessness, like making housing more affordable. That would require a change from the General Assembly. And so we continue to build our relationships there. We continue to advocate for more tools in our toolbox, so we're not solely relying on a property tax.
Yeah. Let's talk about Schumann Highlands now.
Yeah.
It's open. It has, I think, 12 beds.
Yep.
What is the timeline for getting it ready for its capacity, which is 60?
Yeah, so we had to hit pause for a moment and really engage the community around the additional phases of Schumann and really involve our Department of Human Services, because we want a facility like the Schumann Center to be rehabilitative in nature. We don't want to just churn kids through that facility. It's a short-term facility, right? It's where kids await before their sentence and their move on to a longer-term stay or release back into the community with their family or another support network. So what we're doing now is really engaging in a conversation with the contractors, with designers who are trauma informed, with our Department of Human Services, with Adelphoi, who we're currently contracted with stakeholders who work with youth who are involved in the criminal legal system, and saying, like, how do we design this next phase intentionally, because it's a very expensive capital investment and we want to be able to do it correctly and within budget.
Okay, we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, when you look at 2025, what big picture do you have for Allegheny County in this year?
So in many ways, the mission hasn't changed. It's to create an Allegheny County for all, which means that everyone feels safe in their neighborhoods, that they're connected to their community, and then they have the opportunity to thrive. And now that we've passed a budget that gives us everything that we need, but not everything we wanted, we're on stable financial footing. And that allows us to go after more grant money. That allows us to advocate for more money coming down from the state and federal governments. It means that we can now look at our departments and look at our programs and say, how do we do this better? Are there ways that we can cut costs? Are there ways that we can be more innovative? 2025 is also the year of planning. When I came into office, there was no strategic plan on where we want to go as a region, what the county is going to be doing. So we're going to be launching our comprehensive planning process with our Department of Economic Development, and we ask all of your viewers to really stay in touch with the county, because there'll be an opportunity to share your voice on what you think the future of the county should be, where we should focus economically, what industries we want to bring here, what sectors we want to grow. And so that's a really exciting time. We're also doing a climate action plan for the first time ever, which means like how do we invest money back into our communities so we can be more climate resilient, and how we can, make sure that our municipalities and first responders are prepared for that. So really a lot of opportunity to continue to engage with my administration and really help to collectively shape our region's future.
All right. Well, I wish we had more time, but it just means we'll have to have you come back. But thank you so much.
I'll come back anytime, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. And coming up, mental health and youth. That is the purpose of a statewide conference coming to Pittsburgh. Intersections. We'll be right back. Well, the concern about mental health and our young people has been growing for years. That's why for several years, NAMI Keystone, Pennsylvania has hosted one of a handful of mental health conferences specializing in youth, parents, teachers, and caregivers. Christine Michaels is the CEO for NAMI Keystone, Pennsylvania. Thanks so much for being with us again.
Oh, thank you for having me again.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about this conference, kind of what's on the agenda. I know there's like a focus on social media this time around.
Yes, so on social media and its negative impacts on youth, and there's a connection that's been made between social media and suicide. So that's part of this keynote is going to talk about that, and then there's more more positive things, I guess. I mean, the keynote is also going to talk about the positives of social media. So not to say that it's all bad.
Yeah. We're in a moment right now where there's discussion around TikTok and whether or not we should allow TikTok in this country. Do you think that'll probably come up during these discussions?
I'm sure it will, depending. The government's going to have to make a decision here either Sunday or Monday, or I personally think it's going to get extended, delayed. It's not going to happen. But the idea of social media, I mean, there's been, I think, like 34 states in the country that have tried to pass legislation or have passed legislation regarding social media and children, and that there needs to be some type of parental consent in it, so involved in it.
So when people talk about social media and kids, what specifically from a mental health perspective is happening that is causing kids to struggle?
Well, sometimes it's bullying. Sometimes it's, that, and then there are websites that are just negative. And I mean, we did a suicide listening sessions across the state in 2019, and we had parents coming up, standing up and testifying that their kids were on social media and talking about their low mood, that they were suicidal, and instead of telling them to get help in that, they're telling them, well, go ahead. Do you know what I mean? Like, and there's no regulations on stuff like that.
Yeah. So I know another portion of this conference is really dealing with the parents and the caregivers.
Oh yes.
What is the advice for them? What is the engagement, I guess, that people are encouraged to have with their kids, especially at these vulnerable ages, in those mid-school years and teen years?
Well, in the afternoon, our afternoon plenaries, Dr. Christine Crawford from our national organization, and she's going to talk about her book, and her book is designed for parents and caregivers, and part of it is how to talk to your kids, how to talk to your youth about serious things, about their feelings and that. And that's the key thing is to talk to them, okay, and not judge them, not lecture them, not talk, but learn how to listen.
Yeah.
That's probably the key, to be able to listen to what your kids are telling you. You know, not act like you know everything.
Right, right.
So.
Well, we're almost out of time, but give us the details, where this is, when this is, and how people can go.
It's at the Westin, Pittsburgh. It's on February 7th, and you can go on our website, www.nami.org.
Okay.
NAMIKeystonePA.org. Okay.
Got it.
But anyway, you can connect to the registration and the conference there.
All right. Well, I know it's a valuable tool, and I'm sure it's going to be well attended. So thank you so much for coming and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, the Pittsburgh Public Theater takes us back to the 1950s with a play that shows the impact of race on theater intersections. We'll be right back. The work of Black female playwright Alice Childress is coming to the Pittsburgh Public Theater. Trouble in Mind was written by Childress in 1955, and it would have been the first play on Broadway by a Black female playwright. But Childress wouldn't make some changes to the content, but it did finally make it to Broadway, and it will very soon make its Pittsburgh debut. So joining us now are director Justin Emeka, and also we have with us cast members Shinnery Jackson and Joseph McGranigan. Thank you all so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So Justin, tell us a little bit about, this play.
Yes.
I've seen a little bit of, I snuck and saw a little bit about this play, and what drew you to this?
Well, one, it's just an incredibly written play, and it's a play within a play. It's about a company that's trying to put on a play about race in 1955 on Broadway, and it's led by a white director and a white playwright. And the play is about the cast having to navigate the challenges of portraying stereotypes, and find their own artistry within the confines of what the script is giving them.
Yeah. When I was looking at some of it, it's almost like it's about control. It's like who's controlling who, and what do you do if somebody's trying to control what your art,
it's like who gets to control the narrative of a story, who gets to tell the story, and at the center is this Black woman who's really struggling to try and maintain her artistry and dignity while also move up professionally.
Right. So, Shinnery, tell me about your role and how you approach it.
Oh, Willetta Mayer is a wonderfully ambitious actress. This is her first Broadway show, and she is wanting to please. She's wanting to do a wonderful job, and that's something that I can relate to as an actress myself.
Yeah.
But then also she has this moment where she also wants to present the truth of who she is as an actress and as a Black woman in the play within a play. And she just comes to a moment of self-actualization, a moment of an inner discovery of the things that she believes in.
Yeah. And so, Joseph, I believe you play Al Manners.
That's right.
Tell us about Al.
Al is the director of the play. He is kind of trained in Hollywood. He's a film director, so he doesn't have a lot of experience in theater, but this is his first Broadway play. And sort of the dynamic between a film director and a stage director is interesting because stage is a very collaborative art form. The writer, the director, the actors are all kind of working together to make this thing, whereas, especially in the 50s, a film director is sort of the king, right? Just decides everything and sort of wields that power, gladly, likes to be in charge. So Al Manners comes to the play with that idea of power and quickly runs into actors who take issue with things in the script, and doesn't quite know how to navigate that.
Yeah. So, Justin, it seems like there's like some humor, here. There's some anger.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emotion. Tell me
Yeah,
about
well,
that.
it's, and that's what's so brilliant about the play is that, Alice Childress takes these really kind of like challenging topics in American culture that we're still kind of wrestling with, and she really gives us permission to laugh and to laugh at ourselves, and also, to challenge certain preconceived ideas that we have, and to really reflect, and sometimes, even be sad. She kind of lets us feel all that we need to feel as we're trying to really confront the limitations of American dreams that we all experience.
Yeah. And the truth actually is that she tried to get a play, this play, right?
Yes.
On Broadway, and what happened?
Well, producers, wanted her kept wanting to control the narrative, ironically, and that's what the play is about.
Yeah.
And those producers kept asking her to change it. She changed it, rewrote it, I think she said 15 times until she felt like she couldn't even recognize her own play. So she said, take it or leave it, and they left it for 60 years. So then she returned back to the original ending. So a lot of people wonder, is this is her original ending?
Yeah. And it did finally debut on Broadway and had several Tony nominations.
Yes,
Yeah.
this in 22, I think it is, 23 or so, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about when people can come see it. It's at the Public.
Yes, so our ticketed performances start February 5th. I think opening is February 8th. We're gonna have a big party, and we'll close on February 23rd.
Okay, all right. Well, it sounds wonderful. And there's also more information at ppt.org.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for coming. It sounds like a great play, and I'm sure everybody's going to come out and see it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. And I'll have my last word when we come back. Health is one of the most important elements of our individual lives. We want to be healthy physically, mentally, and emotionally. But in each case, it's hard to do it alone. That means we have to surround ourselves with people who care just as much about our health as we do, maybe even more. Parents advocate for their children. Children advocate for their parents, spouses advocate for spouses, friends advocate for friends. Our health is our life. Fight for it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Intersections.